Hello, welcome to The Power of Our Story. We are a place of safety for our protectors to process the journey together with others that get it. Please don't waste your years suffering in silence. You can reach out to us on The Power of Our Story and meet our amazing community that cares about you and understands. So tonight we welcome U.S. Marine Corps veteran and the founder and president of Mission Fish, Brian Barber. So this is a little about Brian. He says in 1995, I enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps and was honorably discharged in 2004 due to my disability. Upon my discharge, I was lost in a world without my Marine Corps brothers and sisters, as that was all I had known for 10 years. The everyday routine of what I did was no longer there. And because of this void, my depression began to take its toll on me. The purpose of Mission Fish, fishing, interacting, sharing, and healing, is to organize and plan fishing day trips and provide fish therapy for PTSD and TBI for veterans, active duty service members, first responders, and Gold Star families. Studies have shown that fishing has mental health benefits. Being in nature can improve your mood and also has positive long-term effects on depression and memory. We bring together participants who could be in need of interacting with others while sharing a day together, building friendships and self-esteem. Brian, I am so excited about you being here, about what you do, sharing your story, and starting our conversation today. Welcome to our tribe.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I really do. Not a problem. Like Sarah stated, I went in 95. The story how I went in is kind of it kind of ties into the end when I got out. My buddy in high school had told me he wanted to be a cop for the longest. I want to be a cop, man. I want to be a cop. And I was like, man, you're crazy. I want to be a police officer. I said, all right, well, go for it. One day he worked security at the mall, and we just had graduated from high school. And he comes to the house, and we're having dinner, and he tells me, hey, I think I'm gonna join the Marine Corps. And I was like, gonna do what? I was thinking, the police academy or something, but he said the Marine Corps, and I was like, now you're really crazy. And then he left. He left the house, and well, I sat there talking to my ex-wife now, but at the time I told her, I don't think I can let him go by himself. We just had that bond in high school and it was really strong. And I thought, what do I got going on now that prevents me from going? Where is my position in life now? Could I better it? Could it be more beneficial if I did roll? So I made the decision that night. I said, yeah, I think I'm going to go with him. Went and found out. I know he was working that night because he just came for lunch. So I went to the mall and found him, and I told him, I said, hey, man, tomorrow I'm going to go to the recruiting station, and I'm going to sign up, and I'm going to try to leave with you. This was like maybe March 5th of 1995, and I did everything I had to do to leave with him on April 9th of 1995. So it was like almost a month before I was able to go, but I did everything. Like I went through all the physicals, through MEPS, and did everything I had to go, but to go. But it was more about the future of it. It was more about, hey, trying to benefit my family in the long term. At the same time, I saw what my grandparents had, and one of my grandfathers was a fisherman, and he fished every Thursday, religiously. Every Thursday, he was fishing Thursday, and he would eat what he caught on Friday. And I was like, man, I want to do that. I want to fish every Thursday and not worry about nothing else the rest of the time. And then my other grandfather was a golfer, and he golfed every Sunday. I was like, I want to try that. I want to be able to do what I want to do on my time instead of doing somebody else's time. And I noticed the relationship between the both of them was the fact that they were both in the military. And I know they were collecting their checks and they had their Social Security, but I was like, I mean, I get it what they're doing. I was like, I want that. So I knew at that time I had to go, and it was just only beneficial for me and the family at the time. So now that was in 95. Graduated boot camp in, I think, June of 95, went to comm school in 29 Palms. My first duty station was 1st Battalion, 11th Marines in Camp Pendleton. My second duty station was with Marine Wing Support Squadron 373 in Miramar. And my last duty station was with 4th Lab Battalion in Pasadena. Once like I explained earlier, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I missed the day to day of the Marine Corps. I missed the day to day of knowing that when I went to work, that my brothers and sisters were there. We talk and discuss whatever needed to be discussed, whatever they had on their minds. But at the same time, it was just sharing that day. When I got out by the way, I had three back surgeries. Um, Three back surgeries within a 3-year time frame. I would have did 4 to stay in, but they told me that they can no longer use me, that I was damaged goods, and c'est la vie. So I was like, well, once again, now you put me in a spot where I'm not. You're telling me that I'm not good enough because of my back surgeries, and like I told you, I'd stay in to do another surgery to stay in. But I understood, once I did the third back surgery and the fourth one was going to be scheduled, I was my days were done. So I got out, um, not willingly. I would have stayed in forever. But then in 2010, I lost my brother, and in 2011, I lost my grandmother, and those two were very important people to me. So I had about 3 years of trying to understand and how to live life without them. It was difficult, very difficult. Um, so my buddy Jason calls me up and he goes, "Hey, how would you feel about going fishing?" I told him, "Dude, I haven't fished in 10 years. I didn't fish all while I was in the Marine Corps. And I don't think I fished that many years before I went in. So I'm saying I haven't fished in almost 15 years." And he's like, let's go on a twilight trip. A twilight fishing trip is you leave at 5 in the evening and you fish until you come back at 10 p.m., 10 in the evening. But I remember getting on the boat. I was scared, nervous because I haven't done it in a while. Didn't want to get seasick or, be that guy. But I remember being on the boat, and I remember everybody on the boat was just so welcoming. They weren't like everybody, "Hey, what's going on? How's it going?" It was like, I think 12 to 15 of us, but it was just, I was shocked to see the camaraderie on that boat from what I missed when I was in the Marine Corps. And I was like, because there's a captain, there's a cook, there's 2 deckhands, and then there's their regulars. So just watching that, I was like, hey, that's kind of like being in the Marine Corps. We're all one unit, we're all having a good time, we're all just uh, sharing stories and conversating. But I remember being uh, comforted. I remember being grounded. I remember feeling like I had no worries. I remember feeling that I knew that the people on the boat weren't going to let anything happen to me. I know that they weren't going to make me feel discomfort or any uncomfortable. Um, and me and Jason talked the whole ride out, but at one point I totally forgot where I was at because it was just me and him conversating about life and how he couldn't wait to have his daughters and stuff like that. And it was just so weird. Like I remember being in that spot to where I was like, wait a minute, this is cool. I can do this. Um, so then I thought, hey, how can I give this back to my veteran brothers and sisters at the time? Because I just got out and I was really focused on them. And then I thought, I put it on Facebook. I said, hey, does anybody know any organizations or businesses that take veterans fishing for free, disabled or not? And I got no response for the longest time. And then I finally started getting some stuff in. But the one organization I got was called Anglers Anonymous, and they were based out of the Central Coast, California, which is about 2.5 hours from where I was at. And me being the Marine, being gung ho, I thought, hey, I'm going to make that drive up there and see how they do it. So I hopped in the car and drove up there and sat at one of their meetings and told them my story, what I was doing, where I was about. And they said, all right, we'll help you out. So they helped me out. They helped me do my first trip. Um, I raised about, I want to say like $2,500. It wasn't a lot, but at that time I thought I was raising $1 million, you know what I mean? Just because of my fight. Um, but I was able to take out 17. And I was excited. I took out 17 veterans all by myself and, took them out fishing and covered their galley tab and covered their fish cleaning. And when they got back, we had pizza and all kind of snacks and stuff setting up for them. So it was a great event. But me being the Marine and being gung ho, I said, 17, oh, that's cool. I got to do more next year. So the following year, I did about 60. I did one boat with the 17. I did another boat with about 49 of them. So that was another trip that we did. And once again, it was all veterans and their families at the time. That was 2016. 2017 came around, did the same thing. I did 70 or 80 that year. 2019 came. Um, I I I approached Anglers Anonymous at the time and I said, hey, I appreciate what you guys have done for me, but I think it's time for us to make it bigger. Um, I have my nonprofit, my own nonprofit. You have your own nonprofit. At the time, we were called Anglers Anonymous Ventura Coast because they were up in the Central Coast. I said, why don't we change the name to Anglers Anonymous of America? We all push and we all help each other cover trips, and we're able to do more with what we got. Um, they were like, all right, let's do it. So at the time, I was going to give up my 501 and let them keep theirs because they were the senior nonprofit at the time. Went down there and I don't know, from the time I left the house, from the time I got to them, some things changed. Their decisions kind of changed. I told them I had no hard feelings. I understood. I left the meeting, came back home. I then changed the name to Mission Fish, which is what we have now, which is Mission Fish, which is fishing, interacting, sharing, and healing. Um, and I came out to shoot in 2019, and 2020, COVID happened. So it kind of stuck us for a little bit, but we still were able to do some trips. However, the number of boats that we were able to take out, we took out 4, but the number of participants were cut in half. So instead of us taking the 4 boats with about 180, we had the 4 boats with maybe 70 or 80, and it kind of it sucked, but it was okay because we were still completing our mission. 2021 came around. We've done 6 trips. We did 4 just what we call America's Brave and Courageous trips, and those are 25 passenger trips. We do a trip in September called Operation Anacapa. That one we take about 180 out of 4 boats out of Ventura, out of Channel Islands. And then we have a trip November 11th, Veterans Day, which we do out of Oxnard. Um, to date, we've taken over, I would say about over 3,100 veterans, active duty, first responders, and Ghost Star families. And that was big to me when I changed the name from Mission Fish, from Anglers Anonymous to Mission Fish, was to encompass the rest of us. And what I mean by the rest of us is, like I tell everybody, believe it or not, I get a lot of questions as to why do you take first responders and why do you take active duty and Ghost Star families? And I said, okay, let me break it down for you. My veterans, brothers and sisters, they'll always be my veteran brothers and sisters, regardless of the era, regardless of the branch. To me, if I can give them one day to fish, why not? First responders. The reason I give my first responders a day to fish is because when my family dials 911, the Marines are not going to show up, right? The firemen are going to show up, the paramedics, the police officers, and they do this on the daily. So if you're telling me that I can't give them one day to fish, interact, share, and heal on me, then me and you have a different side conversation because, I'll take it there if you want to, but that's not what we want to do. My active duty service members, the reason I take them, they're going to get out one day. They're going to be me. They're going to be, hopefully they won't be lost. Hopefully that transitional package is different for them than it was for me. When I got out, it was a 5-day process. Enjoy it here. We're going to teach you how to resume write, how to interview, and say la vie. And I was like, wait, time out. There's so much more to it. What about the social media? Back then we didn't have social media. Back then we didn't have cell phones. It wasn't easy for me just to pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, what's going on? I had to actually dial the number or send them a letter mail. But then, and then they asked Ghost Star family members, why do you take Ghost Star? I was like, are you serious? Ghost Star families to me are the ones that lost a significant amount of life. Even though they lost their loved one, I bring them on the boat to let them know that their loved one is not forgotten. That there's other brothers and sisters here that welcome them, and we fish in their honor. But the main reason for me starting a nonprofit was to be able to give back. When I first started a nonprofit, I tried to fish at least once a week. And And because to me, it was just that was doing it for me. It was doing it for me. I was loved being out there. I was loved being out there. But now, as a nonprofit grows, my mentality kind of changed a little bit. What I mean by that is it went from me having the rod and reel in my hand of fishing to me now watching um, my veteran brothers, or I call them my America's Brave and Courageous partners, watching them go through the transition that I went through. When they get there in the morning, very standoffish, very reserved, not really talking to anybody. They may meet one or two people that they've probably seen before, or they might, hey, we're both wearing army hats or something. So they break the ice by that way. But um, a typical day is you see them out there, you see them struggling, and that's when my my fight, I guess, begins, because I want to make sure that that individual is okay. By the time they leave my trip, I want them to understand that they have a brother in me, that they're able to call me, confide in me, text me, email me, whatever they need, I'm there. So I make it an effort to focus on the ones that I see that are really struggling. And if it's more than I can handle, then I reach out to my board member and say, hey, that one's yours, that one's mine, that one's yours. And then we make our efforts, collective effort to handle it. Um, but our trips start at 8 in the morning. We meet, we do our little, tell everybody who we are, what we do, how we do it. And then we load the boats, and then we're fishing by maybe 9:30. And once again, everybody's still reserved, quiet. I mean, they're talking, but not like you would expect it with a bunch of veterans on the boat. Like you would think it'd be loud, or you think it'd be, like okay, these guys are gonna start partying soon, and it's not. For the first 2 or 3 hours, it's really quiet. And then at 11:11, we shut the boat down completely. Everybody puts their gear up. The captain turns the boat off, and we just float. While we're floating, I give them my speech, like I'm going to tell you guys. I appreciate you guys for being here today. You guys can be doing whatever you have to do today, but you guys gave me the opportunity to talk to you, to share my story with you. Um, I appreciate you guys for giving me that opportunity. Um, and then I tell them that to reach out, to the person to the left and to the right, because you never know what tomorrow brings. Um, I started a nonprofit as a way to heal for me, and I'm giving you guys the opportunity to show you what I do and how I do it. Um, and we hand out flags from each of the branches. We hand out our first responder flag, um, and then we hand out depending on what the day is. Believe it or not, sometimes if the boat's okay with it, sometimes we'll hand them, hey, do you guys want a beer? Someone will get a beer, and we'll make a toast. Um, as toast before the toast is done, we play taps on the big loud speaker, and then again, I have one of my buddies, give us a prayer before we get back to fishing. Once the prayer is done, I say, all right, let's get back to fishing. Something about that 11:11 to me, and my buddy Edgar mentioned it to me, I kind of saw it as we did more and more trips. The fishing seems to get better. And I don't know if that's just the timing, or if it's just the aspect of the event, or it's just maybe the feel of the boat, the positivity from us being somewhat strangers at the beginning to now we're kind of brothers and sisters in arms. But the fishing gets better. Everybody starts to get bit, and that's when the high fives start, and that's when the yeah and the loud and the camaraderie build, and that moment is when I feel my therapy is over. Like, okay, good, there it is, I've done it. Um, so we're fishing on the boat. The 11:11 happens. We do then we're back to fishing again. And then on the way back, I just make my rounds and say, hey, once again, shake hands. If they're huggers, I bring it in because I'm a hugger. Thanks for being here. You guys could be, you giving me the opportunity to show what I have and to give you a little bit of what I'm offering. And then I make my rounds and then get back to the landing. And once again, as we're handing out fish, I tell them thanks for coming, and that's pretty much the end of the day. And then they're done. But one thing that we did incorporate this year that we haven't incorporated the past 7 years was we now have a certified clinician on each of our trips, and I feel that's very important because I'll be honest, if a situation arises, I'll do my damnedest to make sure that it's handled. You know what I mean? To make sure that it's taken care of. But I'm not certified in giving any side of sort of I can give you advice, but if it's coming from someone that's certified, I think it holds a little bit more weight. Um, I understand that we're veterans and we're America's brave and courageous, and we kind of understand each other. But if it's coming from someone that's certified, I feel it has a little bit more gusto to it. You know what I mean? But that's another thing that we incorporated this year was having a certified clinician on the boat, because to me I feel that solidifies us as a therapeutic organization. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. Oh my goodness. I love how you turned your pain into helping other people. It's just incredible. And, just to hear, I can just imagine, I was just picturing what it was like to be on that boat and, everything kind of opening up and the camaraderie starting and everybody warming up to each other. And what a beautiful thing to do. I love that.
Like I said, that 11-11, and my buddy Edgar goes, watch. He goes, watch after the 11-11. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, just watch. And I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it for the longest because I was just so caught up in the moment. And then I was like, wait a minute, they're actually high-fiving each other. And, now they're baiting their own hooks now. And now they're taking their own fish off the hook. And I'm like, wait, what did we create? We done it. You know what I mean? That's, like I said, that's when I'm like, hey, we did it. We did it.
That's it. Can you share again what the 11-11 is?
The 11-11 it's a ceremony that we incorporated to honor the ones that weren't there.
Oh.
The ones that paid the ultimate sacrifice, the ones that couldn't make the trip, whether it was financially for them, they couldn't make the trip because they couldn't get the day off. They couldn't make the trip because they were nervous and scared, and I understand that. But at the same time, it's also a time for us to reflect on being present. And I tell them, that's the reason why you're here. You're here because you could have been anywhere else today, but you chose to be there with me and to give me, your undivided attention. So I'm going to give you the best day I can with what I got.
Oh gosh, that's wonderful. And before we open it up to Brian, can you share some responses or testimonials that you've gotten from people that have been on the trip?
Yeah. We've gotten the first time I did it, believe it or not, the first trip we did when I took out the 17, I think that was the best testimonial I got. It was an Air Force. I don't even know what rank he was, but he was also a fireman, and his name is Phil Benny. And he came and he told me, he goes, you know what, with tears in his eyes, he goes, you know what, I've never had a welcoming like this. And I thought, what do you mean? He goes, well, I've been out for so long, because he was in Vietnam time. He goes, and I've never had a welcoming like this. And I was like, and that once again, I was like, okay, now to me that makes me want to push the bar even higher. Okay, I mean, these guys deserve so much, and I get that they were handled very differently than the way we are now. But that testimonial for him to kind of solidify the event and put that cherry on top of it was just like, okay. And that's what made me believe in what I was doing even more. Because like if he sees it, then okay, I got to keep pushing. I got to keep pushing.
Oh, that's just wonderful. It's just such a beautiful, natural way to connect and feel belonging again, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. And it was so weird because it was more about the camaraderie. It wasn't about the barbecue after, because on Operation Anacapa, the one where we take about 180 out, we have a barbecue at the end of the day provided by the Ventura Downtown Lions. And that's where a lot of the guys that were there in the morning, and it's funny because at that time, again, you'll see them in the morning kind of distant, but then when they're having their evening dinner with the Lions, you'll see them like sitting with each other, and you'll see them talking, and you'll see them sharing stories about what they caught and how they caught it. And that's what I'm making my walk around. I'm just like, wow, this is amazing to see.
Oh, that's incredible. Oh, Brian, thank you so much for sharing. Why don't we open it up? Mandy.
Hi, Brian. First of all, my dad was a big fisherman. He was also Army back in the day. And I love fishing. I love eating fresh fish. And mine's more of like a comment to you question. Who fillets all those fish?
The deckhands fillet them off.
Okay.
We cover. With the funny thing is, when we're on the boat, we ask the participant, like, how do you want your fish? And a lot of them are so like, oh, I don't know, because they think like they're paying for it. And I go, no, we're paying for it. I mean, you can have your fish whole if you want it. You can get it gill and gutted. You can get it filleted. You can get your fish however you want it. The only thing we don't do is cook it for you. But I really can't say that because we've had an opportunity where a couple of the veterans like, man, I really would love a fresh fish sandwich. And one of my galley cooks says, you know what? Give me 3 fish, and he filleted them right there and made them fresh sandwiches.
And thank you. And I love how you were saying how early in the morning, how people just, it's hard for everyone to get motivated, but fishing does bring people together. And someone catches one, or you help them pull in the line. And I love that you've incorporated all the different, first responders, Gold Stars, just everybody. And I think that's wonderful. And congratulations to you. Thank you. And I hope you're back okay.
Oh, it's getting there. It's getting there. Fishing definitely helps.
Thank you.
Oh,
good.
That's good to hear. Yeah, thanks, Mandy. Chris Gregorio.
Man, fantastic story, and I love what you're doing. This, like I told you, that there's a lot of people here that are, I tend to ask unusual questions or whatever, so bear with me. As I told you that there's a lot of selfless people, and you obviously fit right into that mold. And all the stuff that you're doing, and I'm sure that there's several people here that can speak to this, but for you, have you found yourself through your healing by helping others, finding to where your gas tank gets empty, to where you, as Chris Chandler Yates says, fighting the burnout, and a lot of times in service, but fighting this burnout of helping other people while healing yourself? And if you've hit that spot, can you tell people how, number one, you recognized it, and two, how you solved that problem to where you filled your gas tank back up to get back out there and help people?
It's funny, man, because believe it or not, my gas tank runs very thin. Definitely riding on fumes a lot. The fuel that I get is when I see we'll make a post and I'll see someone comment on that post, and I remember seeing that individual, and I remember his story, and I remember seeing how they caught their fish and how happy they were. And then I see now that we're really pushing heavy on the female support. I see the stories of them, like my wife. As a matter of fact, yesterday we had an event out here in San Bernardino, and it was to celebrate her service. And we had, I think, 2 or 3 females out there that were at the event that had been on my trip. And they were like, that was the best trip ever. And they're bringing people to me. They're bringing people to our booth. And that's what I think when I'm ready to, take my hat and say, okay, I'm done. That's when I go, let me put it back on. You know what I mean? Hike them back up and keep pressing. Another thing is I started this nonprofit, and I feel that if I let this nonprofit dwindle down to nothing, that I don't feel that anybody's going to be able to pick it up and run like I will. So it's one of those things that I feel personally responsible for, but yet very grateful for having the opportunity to do so.
That's great.
Well, thank you so much for that. If I may follow up real quick, how do you deal with the number one? I'm going to ask you to always put yourself first. And as leaders, we have to learn that word of delegation. Sometimes you got to delegate and have somebody else help out when your gas tank gets too empty. So make sure you brother, you take care of yourself because you got a lot to give. But two, how do you deal with that secondary and tertiary trauma that you inevitably take on, even if you got some sort of barrier and you try not to take it on? Obviously, some of it seeps through. How do you deal with those things as you're doing all this?
The point that you're right, because when we do our trips, I'm basically a sponge on those trips. I walk around and hear everybody's stories, and when I get home, usually I sit. I'll come in my backyard. You can see I kind of got a little bit of view. I come back here and I somewhat self meditate for a little bit, just kind of be in the moment. And then it's more of reflecting on the day, going back from the beginning to where I've been, to what I'm doing, to what I'm planning on doing, and then I go, okay, you know what? I'm good. I'm good, and I'll definitely have a talk with my wife and conversate with her, kind of get a lot to her, and then I have a couple of buddies that I really heavily rely on. So I kind of reach on them and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. But yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. I'm just like, man, I gotta release this. I gotta release this. And some people think like, why are you crying? I go, I have to release this. You don't understand. I've just been taking it all in, listening and hearing these people's story. And sometimes their stories are just like wow, all I'm doing is taking them fishing. What else can I do? How much more can I give? Because I definitely want to I want to give them everything that I can in my power to make sure that they're taken care of.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that strength through your vulnerability, brother. Appreciate you, Brian.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Those are great questions. You know, I think, Brian, one thing that we do on the Power of Our Story is people share the resources that have helped them. And with the, 45,000 nonprofits out there, it's hard to know which ones are helpful. Right. So if I can ever be of support to you, like even sharing on this call, we have different people that are doing different things that are free for our protectors, that helps with trauma. So if I can ever do anything to support you or any of us, we'd love to help.
I appreciate it. I definitely do. I really do. Thank you.
Yeah, let's stay connected. And then Megan. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm still trying to navigate this technology stuff.
It's okay.
Sorry. Hi, Brian. I just wanted to say thank you for your service, first and foremost. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's great. I highly respect you for including our first responders, our active duty military, our veterans, and our Gold Star family in the mix. I feel it's so important what you're doing, and really taking care of everyone as a community there. Yeah, I think you're doing a great job. Keep up the great work. When is this fishing tournament, and where is it at?
Oh, Operation Kappa is Friday, September 8th. It'll be taking place in Channel Islands, which is in California here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the funny thing is we're trying to work with this nonprofit called Angel Flight West. And what they do is they told me that if I'm able to get certain veterans in certain areas, that they would be able to fly them in. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So we're going to actually try to put that to use this year. I'm going to see if I can get 5 from other states. Believe it or not, we had people, I had a group of 5 guys fly in from Arizona. I had 3 drive in from Vegas. I had, I think, 2 people driving from Washington. So the word is getting out there. The trips are getting out there, and I'm thankful for it. So I'm like, okay, let's just keep it going.
Awesome. That's so cool. Thank you.
That is wonderful. Oh my goodness. Thanks, Megan. Janet?
Hi, Brian. Thanks so much for sharing and for what you do. One thing I wanted to say, because somebody mentioned about you taking care of yourself. I think it was Chris Gregario. Yes. But I think that one thing to remember is that sometimes by just being, you're serving. So you don't have to do a lot. Just being on that boat with them, just seeing them, listening to them, sharing, that's all you need to do. The thing is, I think so many are lonely and aren't there, or people don't really see them or hear their stories. You're giving them that opportunity to come together. So remember, that's all, God gave you a mission and you're doing it. So, yes, so don't ever feel that guilt. I think you're doing exactly what you need to do. And obviously, with people coming from all over the place, you're doing something right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great point, Janet. So true. And I think what we've been talking about just recently, just what Janet shared, is it's amazing what can happen with people when they're seen and they're heard. It's so powerful. So I love what Janet shared. Yeah, it's wonderful what you're doing. Okay, Paul. And you are muted. Yeah.
Brian, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
You may recall, having been at Camp Pendleton, that Oceanside has a harbor.
Yes, sir.
And that harbor has docks.
Right. Right. Trust me, you have no idea. I kick myself in the butt to this day. I was stationed in Ocean or Pendleton for 4 years. You know how much fishing I could have done? And then to make it worse, I moved a little bit further south to Miramar, right? And that's still, I'm like, so why did, and now if I want to do those trips, back then when I finally, one of my buddies did say, let's go fishing, and I went, and it was like $150 for an overnight. And I thought that was crazy. Now that same trip is probably about $400 or $500. But I didn't, I'm like, why didn't I take advantage of that? I don't know.
Well, I share that with you for a couple of reasons. I spend some time on Pendleton every once in a while, mostly shopping and doing that kind of stuff. But they have a whole marina at Pendleton. And I don't know if it was there when you were there, but it's certainly there now. And they have a yacht club there, part of the Naval Academy Yacht Club system. And that may be an opportunity.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm definitely trying to expand this. I really want to nail it down correctly with no flaws. I want to make it liquid to where it's just it flows like it's supposed to. So then I can pick it up and say, okay, now let's try it in San Diego. Let's try it in Oceanside. Still got some work to do. Like I told Sara earlier, now we're focusing more on the data collection side of it, because I'm so about just going that I didn't think about having to collect. I mean, I know who went on my trips and who didn't, but how do I know it helped them? Because they tell me it helped them. Because they send me emails and let me know that it helped them. Or they text me, or they call me, or they make a Facebook post now about how it helped them. So I don't understand why I really need to show you that I've taken over, 3,300 out, that I have to show you 3,300 people said it's okay. But I have to do what I have to do.
Yeah, that's hard.
Right? Thank you.
Numbers are everything, I guess.
We certainly appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
For so many people, seriously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It is amazing. And you had said earlier too, you have had about 3,000 people out on those boats fishing. And you imagine the ripple effect of one person encouraged, one person changed. And it's too bad. Yeah. How do you collect the data on that? I don't know, but I guess
the way I heard is surveys is the way, but I'm just like, my thing is a testimonial should be just as much as a survey. You know what I mean? But I understand it. I guess it's one of the rules I have to play by to be able to, to make sure that we raise enough money to do what we do. So if that's the route I have to go, then I'll do that. Not a problem.
We need one of the veterans to raise up in your organization who loves to do surveys, and they can get you all that data, right?
Right. But who's a survey? Okay, you win. You're the survey person. Come here.
Right.
You're going to do
surveys together.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Michelle.
Well, I'm kind of glad I'm coming in after that, Brian. You and I are going to have to connect, because I'm about to be starting in on my master's for my MBA, and my current job is at Idaho State University, and I do surveys. I just created one the other day. And they're telling me to find projects, businesses, nonprofits to start working with to build my portfolio. So I think you and I should definitely connect.
Please do. I would greatly appreciate it.
Perfect. Do you guys have social media yet for Mission Fish? I couldn't find any.
It's it should be under Mission Fish USA, I believe, under Facebook as well as Instagram and YouTube. I'm a tech guy, but not like that tech guy. I mean, let me rephrase that. I'm no tech guy, but I'm able to find. What's your social? Mission Fish USA. What about Instagram? Mission Fish USA. What about YouTube?
That makes it easy.
USA, right? I think, and your website, Mission Fish USA. I tried to make it easy so that way I don't screw it up because, man, I can only imagine.
Perfect. All right. I'll make sure that we follow you from the power of our story. But I wanted to also say thank you for including the first responders. I, as a dispatcher, already it's an uphill battle when you coin the term first responder and dispatcher. And then when you throw PTSD on top of that, luckily I dispatched in California and I dispatched in Nevada, and both of those states have passed the laws finally recognizing dispatchers as first responders for PTSD, and it can be covered under workers' comp. So I got really blessed with that.
Good. But, yeah, because I mean, when I say first responder, to me, that's anybody that puts their life on the line for us. Nurses, I have those on my list. I have probation officers, I have those on my list. I have dispatchers on my list. I have, and like I said, the funny thing is, I get a lot of why this, why that, and I tell them, I go, do you honestly think that they don't have PTSD or they don't deal with any sort of anxiety or depression on the date? Now, remember, these people work dailies. This is their daily job. And you're telling me that you don't think that they deserve to go fishing for one day?
Yeah.
I go, and the funny thing is, they'll tell me that on social media, or on a text or something. But when I see them in person, it's like, okay, we can talk about it now, but quiet. Like, okay, want to make sure we're on the same playing field.
It's definitely amazing how that works. When you say, like, people ask you why, like, my response would be, why not?
Right. Well, that's part of my thing. Like, if I can't give them one day, and we only do out of a full year, I think we do, the max we've done, I think, was 10 trips. But you're telling me if I can't give them one day, one, you know what I mean, or possibly two, to take them out? Come on, really? I think you got bigger problems than that.
I agree. So thank you so much.
Definitely talk. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Michelle. And I'm glad that you shared how people can reach you and follow you. So
yeah, Mission Fish USA, I think, right?
Yeah, Mission Fish USA. Okay, right. That's very clear. Good. And Chris and Natalie. And Natalie, please introduce yourself because we missed you.
Oh, yeah.
My son called. I'm Natalie. I'm also I'm a Navy mom / law enforcement mother, and the founder of Nothing But Love Notes, an organization. Awesome. We write thank you notes for veterans and first responders across the country. So I love what you do, and I get those same questions, like, why would you give a police officer a love note? Why would you? And I'm thinking this to myself as I'm listening to you, is why not? Like, why not give anyone? Why does not anyone deserve this? Whether it's a fishing trip, or love note. So that's just kind of funny. But
yeah, I don't understand the thought process on the question when they ask. Mm-hmm. Like, if you really dial 911, do you honestly think that the Marine Corps is going to show up at the door and they're going to bring their docs and they're going to help? No way. You know what I mean? When you need it, you're going to be like, oh, we need the cops. Oh, now you need them, right? But you couldn't let me give them one day to fish, right? Come on. But no, I appreciate you. That's awesome.
So, Brian, Chris again.
Hey,
hi, thanks for being here. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Appreciate you for yours, sir.
So we've got an event coming up in San Bernardino on the weekend of June 2nd-ish. It's a police museum / exhibition thing. This doesn't just go to you, of course, but I want to extend this to everybody that might want to show up for this thing. I think it's like a 3-day event. I'm going to be there, I think, for 2 days, selling books, hanging around, doing whatever, but it's supposed to be a big deal. Maybe you already know about it. This is all kind of new to me.
I just moved up here to Victorville in May of 2021. We're in 2020. Yeah, wait, we're in 2023. Huh? Holy crap. Yeah, like last year? No, 2 years ago. But anyhow, I live up the hill. So a lot of information I get from down the hill is provided by one of my buddies. His name is Jose Mendoza. He runs the DAV Chapter 12 down the hill. So a lot of stuff that's down there, he usually brings to my attention. He may not have heard of it, but I will definitely reach out to him, and if you can, share with me here, and I'll see if I can attend it. I'm supposed to have an event on June 3rd, but that's just there one day. But I can be back here for that event if it's on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Yeah, I just wanted to extend the official invite for you guys, for anybody that wants to come.
Awesome. Hope to see you there, man. Hope I can make it. Definitely hope I can make it.
Sounds good, bud.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris and Natalie. Chaplain Todd.
Hey, Brian. Love what you're doing out here in the dead center of the country. Make me miss fishing for I lived in Washington most of my life, and just loved going down on the Columbia River and fishing sturgeon and salmon out over the bar, and make me miss it. Hey, I'm posting a website here. We need to hook up. 220. You've got several of us here that volunteer with this group. Our sole purpose is to bring healing from trauma and negative emotions to veterans and first responders. We have some, the only way I can describe these treatments is miraculous, how effective they are. The trauma resiliency protocol and the emotions management process. I would love to hook up with you and be able to have you refer your fishing guests to us. And maybe we can, trade social media presence and put some links together. So I'm gonna put my my email in here, and let's hook up. And I'm sure we can come up with a very symbiotic relationship.
Yes, sir.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Chaplain Todd. That is wonderful. Awesome. I love there's so much camaraderie and networking on these groups too, besides for building friendships. So it's wonderful to see that happen. And Brian, I thank you so much for your service. I thank you so much for what you are doing for people. It's just wonderful. I can just imagine how amazing these times are for our protectors.
Yes, ma'am. You got it. I wish you were able to come out and come on a trip so you can see it firsthand. When you talk about it, it sounds amazing, but when you're there in person and you see it, it's a whole different amazing, I guess you can say. You tend to feel that positive energy. You tend to feel that positive vibe as they release their negativity. You tend to feel that like, wait a minute, this guy was just not saying anything, and now he's high-fiving, and he already shed a tear over here, and he's talking about when's the next one. And that's one thing I forgot to share though, is we don't get a lot of donated fishing gear. We get some, and we take it on the boats with us because like I said, we pay for everything for them to show up and fish. If we find an individual that's really taking it on, and like they're really like, oh, I can't wait for the next one. I can't wait for the next one. We usually give them one of the rental rods that we have. Here, take it. When they take it home with them, and I told them, next time I see you, I want to make sure you have that rod and reel in your hand. So, and they're out. I mean, some guys break down in tears. I'm like, wow. I mean, to me, it's just a rod and reel, but to them, like you said earlier, maybe it's a life-saving device for them. It's, hey, I can actually go out and fish on my own now and not worry about that cost of renting a rod or having to buy one. So now I got my own.
Oh gosh, it's amazing. I mean, and it sounds to me like people feel like they have come home to the best part of what home is.
Right. That especially on those on Operation Kappa trip, when they get off the boat, and because my wife handles all the rear end stuff as far as all the setting up of the tables, the booths, the lines, and all the barbecue stuff. So to be honest, I don't even know what to expect I have an idea what to expect, but she outdoes herself every year. You'll see the picture like, wow, you really did. I mean, she'll have music playing, and these guys come off the boat, and they're great because every boat we take a flag on. So some of the guys will walk off the boat with their flag all high, and then they'll get to the spot and they'll place their flag in the little holder. But I mean, just that moment of them coming from the boat in the morning of being so reserved to walking off the boat in celebration of, hey, I've done it. And I'm like I said before, that's when I'm like, okay, yes, I've done it. That's when my work is done.
It's amazing. That's so wonderful. Janet.
Thanks. Brian, I just had an idea, and you may already be doing this, but when you mentioned about fishing gear and that, have you partnered up with any fishing stores, sporting stores, and maybe planned a day where anybody's not using their equipment in good, some people get older, retired, don't do it,
right,
unable to do it, and partner with them and say, this weekend we're collecting this for this?
Yeah, we've done it a couple.
Yeah.
The fishing season out here starts in March and ends in December. So usually around November, December is when we make that push. Like, okay, hey, the fishing season's over. Does anybody want to get rid of their stuff? You know what I mean? We'll gladly take it off your hands. Whether it's broken or not, we'll take it, and then we'll get it, and we'll take it to one of my buddies. His name is Eric, and he runs Eric's Tackle in Ventura. And if there's a reel that needs to be broke, he'll check it out, or a rod, I'll give it to my buddy Mike, and they'll check it out. They'll make them serviceable, and then we'll put them back in the mix. And then the next trip, if someone's, like I said, if they're taking it, and then I hand it off, and here you go.
Good. I just thought of that, and as somebody who's slowly cleaning out their garage and stuff, yeah, there's a few things that we're donating. I've got a couple boxes around, so
awesome.
Even for putting on a list on your, somebody might want it. They may not give you a big donation, but they might have something that's really good. So anyways, just ideas.
But like they say, another man's trash is another man's treasure. So I firmly believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody else have any comments before I ask Brian to give us some parting thoughts? Well, Brian, this has been a wonderful talk, very encouraging, very inspiring. What would you like to leave us with?
If I can leave you with one thing, is to stay positive. Regardless of what's being said or heard around you, stay positive. I know there's going to be days when you're struggling and you're fighting that good fight, but at the end of the day, just try and remain positive.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Brian.